Okay, so let's go back though, because we haven't really like told the whole. I told the story. This is weird because also on the Wheels to Walking YouTube channel, I've been in every single video for the past like 3 or 4 videos, and before that I was in like one. Like it's been kind of weird because I'm like now all of a sudden like sup guys, but so last week we put out a video on Friday, which was basically it was called like Richard's in the hospital. It actually did really well.
Did pretty decent.
People watched it. People watched it a lot. It got like 30K views in like 3 or 4 days or something.
Lots of thumbs, which is cool. Lots of comments.
Yeah, but basically I went on there and kind of explained it from like a third party, but you and Jalila have never fully explained it on the record as like how this whole shit went down.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. So it was like what, last Sunday night?
So the 22nd. So we were over at my sister's house just enjoying family time together and eating dinner and hanging out. And we had a family friend that just that night had gotten into a similar accident where they were going on the road, hit a big puddle, hydroplaned, like, and crashed into a wall, and basically just sat there and no one stopped to help him. Like no one. Like they had to like call and people had to come get him. So like it was already something on the top of my mind and on my heart where I was like, what kind of shitty people just like let a kid like crash into a wall and just like stay there? Like, I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Cause like, it's just my nature to automatically, like whenever I see someone in a situation, because I always feel really bad if I don't help. Like there's been times in my life where I have kept driving and I'm like, dude, why didn't I stop? But so that had happened and it was like, pretty much like a tsunami, not a tsunami. It just was a hard rain because most hard rains last for like 20, 30 minutes and then it like turns into a drizzle. But this was like a hard rain for like 4 hours. Like this was a big rain, like enough debris in the road to like fill up the drains, for then the drains to stop being as effective and then start gaining like puddles in the road. Like, you know, we're talking high wipers.
Yeah.
Even at 45 miles an hour, you're rocking high wipers. And so we had left.
How much, Jalila, this is a question for you. How, when roads are made, how long are they supposed to last of that type of rain?
Well, it depends how heavy the rain is.
Like, because, I mean, you always see like pictures of like floods and shit and you're like, hey, that should be better. Like, what do you plan for?
Well, you design based on the storm year. So you can have like 25-year storm, 100-year storm, 50-year storm.
You look at the worst storm.
Yeah, you collect rainfall data, and there's a lot of like math and equations that go along with that. But in a situation like this, it just, went over capacity. So
interesting.
For those
and
of you that
then
don't
it
know,
starts to flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, she's an engineer who works on roads and drainage.
Right.
So
also drainage possibly could have just been really bad too.
Yeah.
That's a factor as well.
yeah, there could have been debris. It could have been bad drainage. It could have been that it reached its capacity. There's a million reasons why.
You don't have inlets at low points, which is the dumbest thing ever. So that can cause puddles.
Yeah.
And there were huge puddles everywhere.
I mean,
that night.
was-
People were hydroplaning.
Yeah, it was so dangerous that like whenever it rains like that, I always drive in the middle lane because I know that there can be puddles on the left and on the right.
Yep.
And so we were driving home. It was pretty late. It was about midnight, and it was me in the middle lane, and then there was 3 cars ahead of us in each lane, and the 2 in the middle lane and the right lane were more in front than the car in the left lane. And we're going, I don't know, probably 55, 60. We're going highway speed, but not Atlanta highway speed. Atlanta highway speed is like 80.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I see the left lane car just turn right, like 90 degrees turn right, and just drill right into the right lane's wall.
So they went across all 4 lanes.
All 4 lanes, just bam. And I'd never seen something just like bash so quick and so fast to the point I was like, holy shit, that person's fucked up. Like you don't even have time to like brace yourself. Like it just like bash, like,
yeah,
such a quick situation. And so I passed him and immediately pulled over, and I was like, dude, I got to make sure at minimum these people are alive. Obviously hindsight 2020, the smart thing to do, or I guess the right thing to do, is call emergency services and, call the police and let people know. But I've got enough emergency preparedness training to know that people can die in that short period of time. Like if they need CPR, or if they need like a tourniquet, or, being in Boy Scouts, we get, Andrew's an Eagle Scout, I'm an Eagle Scout. We've been trained and stuff like this. So we know kind of what to do. At least for a quick moment, we know what to do. So I crutched my way up to the car, and there was some cars that were passing, and they were like kicking up debris, and it was like kind of hitting me a little bit. I'm like, dude, we're not in a good spot right now. So
How much of a shoulder was there?
Enough for a car.
It was about an 8-foot shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah, to be sideways. Yeah.
There was plenty of room.
It was enough for them to be.
But this car was like fully like.
It was perpendicular to the wall.
Yeah, but the whole thing was in the shoulder, or was some of it like hanging out?
Whole thing was in the shoulder.
It was all in the shoulder.
Nice.
Yeah, there
Okay.
wasn't any. That's why I didn't feel uncomfortable walking up there, because I'm like,
Yeah.
all lanes are open still technically.
Yeah.
And so like you could see a bunch of like airbags deployed and a bunch of smoke, and the door itself was like really crinkled, bashed to the point where you don't even grab a handle. Like I just kind of grabbed it and like ripped it open. And like the smell.
What car was it?
I don't know.
SUV.
No, it was like a crossover, like maybe a Toyota Matrix.
Okay.
Like an orange Toyota Matrix, maybe a Chevy Aveo or something like that. Like a little crossover, 4 doors and a hatch. And I just like ripped open the door.
And you're on your crutch.
I was on my crutch, and I just ripped open the door, and I couldn't see in because there was so much like smoke from the airbags. For those of you that don't know, airbags are deployed with gunpowder. Like they're deployed with explosives. So it smelled like a gunshot, like hardcore in there. And this person was like shuffling around for their phone, and I like helped them grab it off the floorboard, and I said, "Turn off your music." And they turned off their music, and I said, "Are you okay?" And they said, "Yes." So to me, I'm like, they're breathing, responsive, cool. My job's done here. Time to get the fuck out. And I was like, "Hey, you need to come get in my car now. It's dangerous where we are." And they shook their head no. And I just was like, okay, fine. And I turned around to leave, and that's when I just blacked out. Like, I don't remember anything. And this is where we'll let Jalila take over the story, because until there's little patches. Like I remember like in the ambulance a little bit. I remember in trauma unit a little bit. I remember in like the trauma like waiting area before they sent me up to my room. Like I remember these little blips. But mostly after that point, I just blacked out. So, Jalila, from tell us from when I pulled over.
Yeah. Okay. So as soon as we pulled over, I remember you said, "Okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna help them." And I remember thinking in my head, "This is a bad idea," because I've always been taught, if there's an accident on the side of the road, you stay in the car. You never get out of the car. So I had that in the back of my head the entire time. And I was thinking, this is a bad idea, but I didn't verbally say anything. And like still to this day, I like really regret that. I wish I would have said, "No, don't do that. It's not safe." So he goes out and he grabs his crutch, and then he actually comes back in like 30 seconds later because he's like, "Let me grab my phone." So he's like, okay. Comes back, grabs his phone. He crutches over there, and we're pulled over. So I turn myself. I'm in the passenger seat, so I'm looking through the rear window of his truck.
Oh.
So I'm watching him from inside his truck, and I watch him approach the car, and I see him shuffling around, and I'm still thinking in my head, shit, like, hurry up, come back here, because it's going to take him a while to crutch over here. And my heart was racing the whole time because I knew this was just not a good situation. And then I was thinking, what if another car comes and like crashes in the exact same spot? I shit you not, I was thinking that. And then 30 seconds later, I see in my peripheral vision another car spinning out of control, crossing all 3 lanes, similar to what we had seen originally when we were on the road. And then I just saw it hit Richard, and then I didn't see him. And
Did it hit Richard directly, or did it hit the other car?
I think it hit the other car, and then that original car hit Richard. I think that's what I remember. Like it
Yeah, it's all like a blur.
it's
Yeah,
all kind of a blur.
Doesn't really matter,
trauma,
but
trauma can be that way.
All I
yeah.
remember, it was a car hit Richard, whether it was the new one or the original one, and then I didn't see Richard. He was gone in like a second. So I'm looking back, and I remember I stopped for 10 seconds, and I couldn't believe what was happening. And I was in shock, and I didn't believe what I just saw. And then I screamed, this is not happening right now. And then I bolted out of the car, and I was screaming, Richard, 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 because I couldn't find him for a second. And I then eventually found him. He was on his back, right up against the wall, basically in a puddle. And this is like a scene out of a movie. My God, it was dark. It was pouring rain. It was freezing. He's on his back. He has this facial expression that's like, what is going on? Thank God I found him and like you were like your eyes were open. If I would have found you and like you were knocked out,
because he just like disappeared. You just thought he was like dead, right?
I didn't know how I was going to find him, if he was going to be like crushed or like a limb hanging off or something.
God.
A car like hit him at full speed.
Yeah.
So I was terrified, and I honestly thought for a second when he got hit that was it. And anyway, when I go and I, kneeled next to him, and he had this face, he's like, what's going on? What's happening? What happened? Are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm okay.
I was really concerned about her. I kept asking her. I was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Yeah, and I kept reassuring, I'm okay. You got hit by a car. Someone called 911. They're on their way. And he kept asking the same question over and over again. Obviously, it must have been like a concussion or something.
Yeah, I had some head trauma for sure. Like, if
Yeah.
you're on video, you can see I still got some stitches here. If you look at the thumbnail of the original video, you can see a lot of blood. And then even the back of my head was like bashed up against the wall too. So I got hit in the front and in the back. This is why I like can't remember anything. Like this part that she's telling me, like I don't remember talking back. I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
You were actually very vocal the whole time. And I remember I wanted to keep you talking, and I didn't want you to like close your eyes and, be silent. And people kept coming up to us, and they were getting really close to you.
Who's people? Like
The other people involved in the accident.
so the other car, the second car that hit.
Yes, and
They all got out.
I think so, and I think these other people were other people that pulled over because they saw us.
What a shit show.
It was insane, and they kept getting
Dude, how
really
fucking
close.
terrible would it have been if like heaven forbid another fucking car came or something like.
I mean,
geez.
that's what I was thinking when I was sitting next to him. I'm like, what if a third car comes?
I know, literally.
I was scared
I mean,
too.
you can't help but think that because the first car happens, and you're like, that sucks. Second car happens, and you're like, this is crazy. It's like, what's the, it's like lightning striking the same place, but it's like, that.
I mean, the puddle was there, so
the puddle's there. It makes sense. If this
Yeah.
happened twice, it could totally happen again.
And if people are like, "Oh, there's an accident in the right lane, let me go over to the left lane,"
Right.
it's like that's where the puddle is.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck
so,
puddles.
Hashtag fuck puddles. Yeah. Hi, Laura. But yeah, so you were saying that even when I was blacked out, I was telling you what was wrong with me and what not to do and what to do and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't blacked out, but you just don't remember. You were saying when people were getting close, you were like, hey, make sure that they like stay away from me. Like, don't have them touch me. And I was like, yeah, no one can touch you except the paramedics. And then they'd come up to your face and be like, hey, bro, you okay? And you're like, I'm just trying to live here. Like, I'm just trying not to die. And like, I remember you were saying that.
Like,
And-
just trying to stay alive.
And
over
then you
here.
kept saying, I'm really, really cold. And you were shivering like violently because it was freezing. So I was yelling at people like, can you just give me any spare blankets or sweatshirts? And then, a couple times you would look down at your leg and be like, my leg is fucked. Like, it is broken. And
The bone was sticking out,
The
right?
bone was sticking out. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's okay. We're going to get that fixed. And you kept saying that over and over again.
I had a concussion one time, and I remember I repeated myself so much. And I even kind of remember, because I wasn't like blacked out, I can kind of remember my concussion, but I remember asking my friend, because I was at Boy Scout camp, I kept asking him what campsite we were at. I'm like, what campsite are we at again? Oh, we're at campsite 20. Oh, cool. Hey, what
So
campsite are we in again? But I remember asking him like a bunch of times, and I even remembered, I'm like, dude, I think I asked you this before, but I don't remember what you said. What campsite are we in? Like, I think that's just like a thing that happens because you're just like you don't have the ability to like store memories, but you're still like thinking. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, the memory part of the brain is gone.
Your brain's just like, you don't need to remember this shit. This is traumatic as fuck. Like, we're just trying to stay alive here. We're gonna direct all of our power to like
organs
staying alive,
and breathing and body temperature and everything else.
This wheel's slipping. We're gonna send the power to the other three.
Yes, basically.
Nice car analogy for the car accident. So what happened after that, Jalila?
So, it took the ambulance like fucking forever. God.
I mean, they were probably tending to a lot of other bullshit.
I know, but I wasn't thinking about other bullshit. I was thinking about you. So I just remember getting so pissed and I kept yelling at everyone. I'm like, did someone call 911? Where's the ambulance? And they're like, it was called. They're coming. I'm like, Jesus, like, call it again. Like, I don't know. I was freaking out. I wanted him to get transported.
Yeah.
So then finally, I see the lights and, they come, they pull over and the paramedics come. And I think, oh man, the worst part was when they were trying to get him on the gurney.
Oh God. I'm luckily I don't remember that, but I know like moving you when you're hurting from a place to another place is the worst.
Yeah.
Like it is the worst.
Yeah.
Was I screaming?
You were screaming and like crying, and it was like the worst thing ever. I mean, you were in so much pain and you were just suffering. But there's nothing they can do like that. That's what they have to do. They have to move you and get you out of the road.
They got to get me in the wagon. They got to get me warm. They got to check my vitals. They got to give me drugs. Like,
yep.
Like my feelings are not important at that point.
Right.
Like keeping me alive is important at that point. So it's like, yeah, paramedics are going to be mean, but they're not actually. They're just
tough love.
They're just trying to get you off the road.
Yeah, try to get me out of a fucking puddle.
So they get you on the ambulance, and I like kind of search around the area you were in, and I found your keys. So I grabbed your keys, and your crutch was destroyed. That was in pieces. And I couldn't find your phone, but that's something we can get into.
That's a story.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
And so then I run to the paramedic. I said, do not leave without me. I need to go turn off the car and like grab my purse because I'm going to need that information. Like I have like for the cops and all of that. So I go and I run and I turn off the car and I grab my shit and I get into the passenger seat of the ambulance, and then they're asking me these questions like, okay, so what happened? And I'm like panicking.
Yeah.
And I hear him in the back, so I'm like looking over, like making sure he's okay. And trying to answer questions like the best I can. I didn't really feel
like hot ones. You're like, what?
Yeah,
what'd you say?
Exactly.
Fuck.
And I didn't really feel like reliving what just happened 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But I had to. And I can hear him like wailing in the background because he's in pain and, giving them his meds and all of that. And then as soon as I like calmed down a little bit, then I called his family to let them know that, he got hit by a car and that we're on our way to the hospital. And then after that was done, then I called my mom and started crying.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I'm like, Richard just got hit by a car. I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like hyperventilating and oh God, it was awful. But then I calmed down once we got to the hospital. And then we pull up and they take him out and they bring you to the first room, like a trauma room.
Triage.
Yeah.
Triage is where like they analyze what happened. They pick you apart basically. They look at off all your clothes. They'll give you all the x-rays, all the scans. They'll take your blood pressure. They'll take your temperature. They try to ask you as many questions as possible. So they just make sure they get they try to gather the most information as possible before they go on to the next thing, because it's like if they don't know what they need to do, then what do they do? So
yeah, exactly.
So you go into triage first, and when you're in triage, that's when it's like, okay, what's wrong with you? We got to figure out what's wrong with you, and we got to find out what is like the most urgent stuff, meaning like what's the stuff that's could kill you.
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, like a broken leg. Like a broken leg wasn't going to kill me, but internal bleeding was.
Yeah.
So they had to like, look at those kind of things. Which I did have some internal bleeding. I did have a liver that was lacerated. But yeah, the triage is where that's what they do at triage.
Yeah. So they took you in there and you were still shaking because you were really, really cold.
That's one of my memories. I remember being so cold. I was shivering so aggressively that I remember the shivers hurt. They like the shivers like made my leg hurt, and I kept like screaming. I was like, "I'm so cold!" Like blankets, 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 blankets. And so many people were just like, "Just imagine you're at a warm beach. Just think about the warm beach." And they don't know, but I'm like, I hate beaches. like that. I don't associate beaches with warm. Like think fireplace. Like
Yeah. I'm thinking about sand in my wheelchair now, damn it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about not being able to walk. I'm thinking about all this crap.
Oh,
That
man.
sucks. So, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I'm sure that also you were like very adamant of telling them like you have a pre-existing spinal cord injury too.
Oh, he was saying that from the beginning, even when he was on the road.
Again, the ambulance.
Even before
Yeah, it's like,
the
I have a spinal cord injury. How do you know? It's like, because I've had it for 10 years.
Yeah, as soon as the paramedics
it's
came,
pre-existing.
you were like, hey, just let you know, I have a spinal cord injury. And like you kept mentioning it over and over again.
I remember a lot of them being so confused because they're like, then how did you walk there? Like so many times people were like, well, we didn't find a wheelchair. Like, it's like, I got time to explain that part. Just know that I have a spinal cord injury. Like,
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
yeah, we'll get into this a little bit later, but like I am constantly shocked and baffled at the amount of ignorance around spinal cord injury and any type of neurological injury that people, especially in the medical field, just don't know.
Yeah, because
like,
it makes sense if a regular person doesn't know, but if you're like a person in the medical field and you don't know this stuff, it's kind of scary.
And specifically the kind of medical field that would encounter those kind of things,
Totally.
Like if it was just like a particular type of healthcare or doctor that didn't.
Yeah, like, a general
Interact with-
practitioner or something like didn't know. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. He's just like a, whatever.
I mean,
Just check up some
I
shit.
mean, even they should have at least a baseline understanding. But,
I agree.
but anyway,
again-
so we get into triage and they find out, like legs broken. What did they? And then they splinted it. What else? Do you know what else they did? I remember lots of like X-rays and scans.
They did
and,
that.
like,
I
and then
remember them,
machines that made noises and stuff.
Didn't they drop you or something on the one scanner or something like that? What were
That
you
was-
saying? They
that was-
dropped your leg
That
on
was
the...
that was later.
I was in the ICU.
That was later. No, that was when I finally made it up to my main room.
Oh, okay.
They took me to go get an MRI, and then when I was in the MRI machine, my leg like fell off the bed, the little stupid bed that they were on, because they didn't like position my feet correctly. So like this particular hospital was just like the most incompetent people, like the most uneducated, egotistical, incompetent assholes. Like we're talking nurses, we're talking doctors, we're talking techs, everyone. Like me and my family had to fight tooth and nail for just like basic care. It was pathetic. Like I've never, like the trauma unit, like the trauma unit took care of me just fine. But the second I got into ICU, it was like a fucking shit show. Like it was just a horrible experience.
Do you think it was more... I mean, it was probably worsened by the fact that the other hospital where people typically get taken had like flooding issues or something too?
Yep.
But do you think it's always like that, or do you think that
I
it's
think
like...
all trauma hospitals are like that, because trauma hospitals specialize in trauma. So the second you're done with trauma, like no one gives a fuck about you, like because they're there to deal with
They're
trauma.
like, he's alive, he'll
Yeah.
make it.
He's alive, pass. But we'll I feel like this is too early
Yeah,
in the story
yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So anyway, you got more on your story, because I don't really remember until I was finally in ICU.
Yeah.
Who did you text to? Because you texted me. You texted me at like 1 a.m. and you're like, hey, Richard was in a car accident. Or no, you said Richard got hit by a car.
Mm-hmm.
Something. I can look at the text, but it was like...
Because she contacted my mom first, because she couldn't remember how to contact my sister.
Well, yeah, here. Now, it's not that I couldn't remember. So I remember you saying, call Aaron Lee. So that's what I was going to do.
Yes.
But I was so frazzled and shaken up, I couldn't even like figure out how to get to my contacts because I didn't have a previous text from her. So that's why I texted your mom, because I had a previous text from her. So I just went to my text messages and then called her directly.
Yeah, you're like, how do I go to the contacts app? That's like an actual thing. Like I forget
for
that
real.
too.
Like
because if I don't call you regularly, like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I gotta go to contacts, and then I gotta like.
Yeah, I went straight dumb. Like I couldn't figure out how to work my phone. That's how frazzled I was. So I called your mom.
This is what you said to me at 1 a.m. Hey Andrew, just want to let you know that Richard was bit by a car.
Oh, nice.
That Richard was bit by a car. So a car fucking. But he is okay as of now. I'm at the hospital right now with his family. He just got a CAT scan and MRI done. He has a broken He does have a broken tibia, but no internal bleeding or anything of that sort.
Well, that's what we thought.
But then,
that's what we thought
at 1 a.m. And then update once you see this. He's broken some bones in his back, has a liver laceration with some bleeding, and a broken tibia. He'll be going into surgery today for his leg. But the broken bones in the back do you think that was pre-existing, or do you think that was from the accident?
I mean, I don't trust the judgment of any of these doctors, but regardless if they were from old fractures or if they were new, there's nothing you can do about it anyway.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't about to go get a fusion done. Like you'd be like, oh sure, we'll just do a spinal fusion on you. I'd be like, you can suck it. Like you're not cutting me open.
Yeah.
Like where I hurt the most is where my ribs attach to my chest in my sternum. So if you're on video, it's kind of like the sternum is like right in between the middle of the pec. And then if you make like a C shape underneath the pec, like all those ribs where they connect into the sternum, like that hurts really bad. Like anytime I'm reaching or stretching or moving,
it probably got like fucking crunched.
Yeah, well, I mean, my shoulder on the right side and the wrist and my elbow, I think I kind of like a football player or like someone who's trying to break down the door, like probably like instinctively like tried to protect myself. And then also in between my shoulder blades, where the spine is, so there's like shoulder blade, and there's like a spine in the middle. So for the audio listeners, there's a spine, and then the shoulder blade to your left, and the shoulder blade to your right, kind of like at your nipple level, but like on your back. For spinal cord injury guys, you'll know like it's like between like T3 and T7 basically, and that's where again like the ribs, like parts of the ribs, like attach to the spinal cord, and I think those were also like just bashed. You know, like I use the example where like if you ever eaten a rotisserie chicken before and you're ripping the chicken breast off that like that centerpiece, and it's like it's like crunchy, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you can feel the bones cracking and the cartilage ripping, and it's like that's what it feels like. Like for the most part, like it sucks. Like the fact that I'm even able to talk and laugh and even sit up, I've been laying down for so long, you know, is only because I'm on meds right now, because like that, it sucks. Like I couldn't even cough. Like I couldn't talk. Like it was bad. It sucked. But again, there's not like anybody could do anything about it. You know, same like this wrist. It's like it's still all like bruised up and everything. But what can they do? Yeah,
exactly. No, it makes sense. Okay, let's go back to the hospital. So you got his family. You eventually contacted his family and everything. Everyone got to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then you were just kind of like waiting probably, right?
Yeah, so then they like kicked me out because they had to like finish running some tests and finishing up whatever they had to do. So his family was already there in the main waiting room, and I got out there. All I did was make eye contact with his mom and then started sobbing.
Yeah, of course.
That's all I did.
Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want the full episode, you can click right here. If you want to subscribe, click here. If you want more clips, we got 2 more right over here.